Writers, you may be overlooking a source of untapped potential for creative inspiration and story ideas, and that source is your dreams. It's Sam with another Friday video for you. Here to talk about dreams today. Okay, I'm not doing Inception, and I'm not doing like, I don't know, just hippie, new age, whatever, what people say, like spiritual advice or anything like that. Um, so hear me out for a little bit, but yeah, I know dreams are always a weird territory, and there's just probably a lot of weird stuff people have said, but I think potentially, yeah, let me qualify this. Potentially, your dreams could be a source of inspiration and creative ideas. There's a lot of stuff in your dreams that probably would not work for that, but once in a while you might have a good one. Okay, so hear me when I say that. I'm not saying all dreams could or should be turned into good stories, but I'm saying once in a while you might have a good one. How do I know? Because once in a while I've had a good one that has given me a story idea. Let me tell you. Well, once was a story idea, and one for a completely new story, and one was an adjustment I made to my ongoing story that already existed. Let me tell you about them. Um, Long ago, I mean, this is probably when I was in grad school, which is now, oh, I graduated 9 years ago, so probably 10ish years ago. Um, I had a dream, and I was back like it was back when I was single. I used to kind of be into the local music scene in the college town where I grew up, where I was in school. There was just local bands and artists, and I would go to either coffee shops or bars sometimes or just local small venues to hear them play. Um, and one night I had a dream, and I don't remember too many details now, but the dream had me at a concert, but the concert was in another dimension. Okay, I don't know why I knew that. You know how in dreams you just know stuff. I mean, it didn't seem to be too different from our world. I just somehow knew, hey, I came to another dimension to go to a concert. And because this band I liked, I don't know, because I liked the band, and they happen to be playing in another dimension, so I went to see them there. Weird stuff like that happens in dreams. Woke up obviously, and I thought about that idea, and I was like, with that's not a terrible idea on its own. With when we think of things like time travel, other dimensions, weird stuff like that, we're usually thinking of these big epic quests or epic fights, whatever, like good and evil battles. I was like, what if it wasn't that? What if it was just, I don't know, a human interest story, someone trying to escape his own life, and he found a way to travel to other dimensions, and he just used that to do things like go to bars and go to concerts and just escape his own life. And I kind of wrote a story about that. It was a short story. Never published it. I kind of want to now that I'm like a little more serious about my writing than I was back then. I kind of want to revive it and edit it, find it and edit it and see if it could be good to publish somewhere. But I called it Parallel, and it was a story about this guy who, he was having trouble in his marriage. He was down on his luck and all this stuff. I mean the guy was supposed to be at least initially kind of unlikable. Um, like he wasn't necessarily a good guy, and he found somehow a device that would let him travel between dimensions, and he just used that to escape like his life and get away from home, get away from his wife and stuff like that. Um, and I try to make it one of those like pieces that shows the consequence of his actions. Like in that dimension, he met his wife, and she was married to someone else, and like doing much better without him. So kind of the idea of hopefully like maybe showing him what could be and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, and so I made a sci-fi multidimensional story that focused on the real human issues. And I think that kind of thing has been done since then. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once was a multiverse movie, but it wasn't about superheroes. It was about ordinary people who happened to discover the multiverse, and that won the Oscar. It was a good story. So anyway, that was one good idea I had from a dream. I mean, obviously, the dream didn't give me the whole story flat out. I had to take the one grain of good idea I had, and make something out of it. But that was one good idea I had from a dream that I turned into a short story, and that was cool. Another time, maybe 5ish years ago, So I've mentioned this kind of in my other story, my superhero story that I have ongoing. Um, I mentioned this kind of in other videos, maybe because I'm rewriting my first few scenes, but it's kind of a found family arc, like say the Avengers, ish, but I mean a little more down to earth. But the idea is, I mean, most of my characters are loners at least at first. I mean, the idea is they come together and form a found family later, but at least at first, a lot of them are loners, and especially probably possibly the biggest loner um, was a character called Night Terror, who's basically the dark vigilante of the group. Think like Batman meets the Punisher, and how those characters both really don't really trust or anyone else or let them in. And I was at one point, I had a dream that Night Terror had a sister, and she was kind of his Alfred, and like who would like stitch him up and help him. Or I don't remember much of that. I don't remember much of the what the dream actually had. I just know I got that first idea from a dream. Like, what if he had a sister? And then I was like, yeah. And I've since noticed. I mean, I've only recently made this observation about my other characters, but I was like, they all need someone at least in the beginning. I mean, not all of them are going to be main characters, but like a roommate or a friend or somebody to talk to, because I can't just have these scenes of five different people like alone in their own thoughts. It doesn't really work too well. It's not very exciting. So anyway, I've been changing that for some of my other characters too. But for Night Terror, the idea originated from a dream. I gave him a sister who was basically like his Alfred. They share an apartment, which I don't know if that's a little weird for grown adults who are brother and sister, but kind of I think for the sister, she kind of sees her brother as down on his luck or as like in need of help, and she's taking care of him. In the canon I've written now, she has eventually found out he's Night Terror, and she wants to look after him. She's a nurse, and so she has the ability to stitch him up or whatever after he goes out there and gets beaten up by crooks or whatever. And I was like, she needs to have a personality and be the one who maybe the voice of reason in his life, who can sometimes critically, when need be, tell him, hey, what you're doing is not healthy, and not letting anyone in, and having this crusade of your own is not healthy, and it's gonna and she tells him it's gonna get you killed one day. Spoilers. Anyway, um, so yeah, she was there. So anyway, I have that character in my story now. She's not a major character, but she's a little bit in it, and she appeared in my second book as well. And I was like, yeah, it's a good foil for him, and good for him to have someone to talk to. That idea came from a dream too. Okay, now so that's two examples. Now, like I said, not everything you have in your dreams is going to be a good story. In fact, a lot of it probably isn't. I've thought of two examples in years of my life and that were good, and that's probably about the only good ones I can come up with. It's funny because like sometimes how when you're in that sleep state, or in that state of being kind of awake but not quite yet. Sometimes you remember your dreams. So sometimes I half remember my dreams, and I was like, that'd be a pretty good story. Um, and then once I wake up fully, I'm like, no, that's not good. Like I don't know. I had a dream about um, a bunch of people living on a college dorm together, and all these antics going on. But there was also some like sci-fi, like weird time or dimension travel stuff too. And I was like, it's Community, but weirder. And at one point, when I was still like half awake, I was like, I should write a story about this. And then once I woke up, I was like, no, that's not a good story. That's just I mean maybe it could be in somebody's hands. I don't know, but not really the kind of thing that I'm going for. And other stuff too. Like I don't know. I've had. I mean, I guess I dream about sci-fi stuff a lot because since I'm into that, I had a dream just a few days ago or a week ago or something where I can't even tell you what happened. Someone was traveling between realms or between dimensions to try to get away from some kind of demonic monster. I think there was time travel. I think there were yeah. Now now I can't explain it cohesively. Um, when I was like half awake, I thought this is a good story. I need to write this down, make it a good story. And now I'm like, whatever. That's it. There's not enough there to cling on to. So yeah, I've even had that thought where I think about it and it doesn't pan out. But point is, once in a while, once in a rare while, maybe I can think of twice in my life, it might pan out. into something worth using for a story. Some people journal their dreams. I used to do that. I think I experimented with it when I was younger, and there were just too many to write down, so I didn't keep up with it for very long. But yeah, as a source of creative inspiration, that could be an option for you. And hey, maybe a fragment of something, obviously not the whole dream, because those are usually weird, but maybe a fragment of something will come back to you later, and spark something else if you journal it and write it down. So I'm not saying every dream you have turn it into a story that wouldn't work, obviously, and most of it would be crap. I'm not knocking your dreams. Most of mine would be crap too, but once in a while, I guess first point is if you choose to journal your dreams, you could find some inspiration there. I mean, don't just take your dreams verbatim, but maybe there's something good in there once in a while. And two is every once in a while, you might have a good idea come from a dream. So, um, so who knows? Anyway, just consider it. Just think about dreams you've had and be like, could any of these make an actual good story? And who knows? Maybe it'll lead you somewhere interesting, somewhere fun. So that's all for today. Thanks for listening. Keep reading and writing and all that stuff you're doing. Have a great weekend. Bye.